it's like crusty and slick at the same time because Dan always lotions up. It's just not for me. I went with his original mic sock too. Fuck it.
Mock.
Do you guys ever note, like, since we all podcast from home, that like your computer screen is very often covered in spit?
Oh yeah,
because you're talking right into your computer, and I feel really gross about that. No,
I haven't actually thought that it's spit because sometimes I'll notice my screen is dirty and I'm like, oh, let me clean it, but I never thought, oh, it's my spit.
Oh, it's definitely spit.
So Witty put me in this studio today, and it feels like a road game. I got to tell you.
I hated it in there last week.
This is the chair. I don't know, Dan.
It's very low to the ground. I noticed that yesterday.
He has a very specific. He has a very specific workflow.
That chair. Like we could do a whole chapter of the book on why his chair is so weird.
I hate it here.
It's like leaning back. Do
you want to switch spots? I'll sit there.
No,
the guest spot might be better.
No, I think I'm gonna switch chairs though.
It's like awkwardly you're like sitting back, leaning back.
You don't even like want to touch the desk. Like your hands are hovering.
Oh, you know why?
It's very crusty.
It's not an X chair.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab the.
I don't think
X
they're
chair.
sponsors anymore.
Yeah, but
if they are, they're great.
It's
if
still
not,
a superior. It's still a superior chair.
I don't think they've been a sponsor for a year and a half.
I retract that statement.
Just not enough lumbar support here. And I didn't bring my KT tape. The KT tape has been a lifesaver for me.
Has it really?
Oh, dude.
So there are things. Do you ever like try things that are meant to be healthy for you, but you realize they have absolutely no effect on you? KT tape is one of them. Or like I just put KT tape on my legs to play soccer one time, and I felt nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
I certainly feel it on my lower back, but I wonder how much of it is just mental.
Yeah.
But I genuinely feel the difference. There was one concert that I forgot to put the KT tape on my lower back, and I was in hell. I was in absolute hell.
But was it just a placebo thing where you're just sort of thinking you're thinking that it makes you better?
I feel the difference almost immediately, but I mean, how much can it possibly help, right? I don't know the science behind it. The legs, I've done it on the legs before, and I didn't really have that much effect for me. But the back, definitely. The lower back, my lower back's a mess. So now if I'm doing anything, yesterday when we were at Old Dubliner and we knew that we would be standing up for a long time, KT taped the back, lifesaver. Yeah, I need it all the time. I need it to sit in this chair, which is a terrible. I don't know how he does this.
Yeah, that chair.
I think he's taken the last week and a half off just because of
how low he is to the ground.
Because of this workstation.
If we just put out like 20 chairs, like office type chairs, and we let like audience people guess which one's Dan, guess which one Dan uses every day, it would be the 20th chair. They'd be like, it can't be this ridiculous chair that you fall back in as soon as you sit in it. Oh, I hate it.
At our events, people are always shocked at how tall Dan is.
Yes, this is why.
It's because he's sitting on the ground essentially. My knees, your knees should never be this much higher than your ass.
That's not true. Well, you know what though?
It looks like you're on a squatty potty.
Right, exactly. It is the technology that is meant to help you shit better.
Yeah.
Your kneecap should not be above your belly button when you're sitting.
That's what I got. It's like basically a straight line from my kneecap to my belly button right now. I'm sorry guys, I can't work under these conditions.
Are you having a BM? Are you okay?
I feel the ass triggering. So I'm going to switch this chair.
But yeah, when I sat there on Thursday, we were recording Mystery Crate, I realized that not only is that chair so low to the ground, the camera is framed for the chair to be that low on the ground. So I literally had to spend the entire Mystery Crate like leaning back in the chair with basically my ass like 3 inches above the ground so that the camera would catch me. Otherwise, if I sat up straight and maintained my normal posture, then it would get nowhere near catching
Sounds
me.
like a shot at the video team.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Tony just moved the camera. I mean, what do you do?
Switching chairs in this studio
has nothing to do with me, Billy.
A bit of a Rubik's Cube type of
you
scenario.
fucked up the podcast the other day. Put out the wrong episode.
Oh, yeah, that was me. I messed up the Morally Abhorrent podcast too. Somebody actually tweeted me that, like, "Hey, fix the Morally Abhorrent podcast." I'm like, brother, I've never done anything with that. Why are you tweeting me about a Jags thing?
Billy, did you just refer? Yeah, I must have hit publish on the Morally Abhorrent podcast 7 times yesterday.
It was my fault though.
Yeah,
the publish button.
There was some kind of bottleneck yesterday in our podcast hosting service because I saw multiple podcasts having this problem. Yeah. So for whatever reason, at like 8 p.m. last night, all of a sudden all the podcasts could publish. But that was frustrating when you're trying to go about life publishing a podcast and it's not working, and you're like, what did I do wrong?
The poor bottleneck gets a bad rap.
Why?
It's always used in negative context, like traffic turns
When
into
is
a
a
bottle.
bottleneck good?
Thank you. Well, when you're drinking out of it.
Speaking of drinking, have a World Cup, everybody.
Oh man.
I went to bed at 7:45.
I didn't even drink that much yesterday, and I was in bed at 8, and I couldn't think. I was trying to read to catch up on what happened on the sports weekend, and it went flying through my brain, and nothing stuck.
Is it because of how emotional the match was and how exhausting it was to watch?
Yes.
Probably.
I took a nap
for Witty.
after.
Wait.
For me,
I
it
was
was the
holiday
drinks.
shopping.
You didn't come on, you have God bless football.
You didn't watch it?
No, I was in Dolphin Mall, so I was watching it while I was
Oh my
shopping
gosh.
because I just heard the reactions to everything that was going on, and then I'd walk.
Dolphin Mall has to be one of the more electric places to watch that game.
Every like third store, I just had people like huddled around a phone. I stopped by a Propo. I saw a goal happen. I was like, okay, going on. Then I went to Lids. One of the employees was watching it on their phone.
Lids.
I heard another
Was it a
cheer
good
going.
Lids?
It was because it used to not be a Lids, but now it is a Lids. Like there's the Lids that's just the hats, and then this one used to be
Yeah.
called like Fanatic or something
yeah,
like that.
the old Lids
Fan.
locker
But not
room.
Fanatics. It's like it's a whole.
fan addict.
Yeah, it was weird. But
The
now
one
it's
across from the Nike store.
A fan's attic.
like right
around
across
there.
the
Where
Yeah,
he keeps
street.
his
yeah.
hats.
It's across from DSW, but it's in the Nike store vicinity. Yeah, it's
It's
a
in
good
like the
Lids.
Rumbus section of Dolphin
Yeah,
Mall.
Ramblas.
Ramblas.
Yeah. Oh.
Every Dolphin Mall is divided into 4 sections with very weird names.
I have a bone to pick with Sparrows, by the way.
Number
We can
three,
get to that later.
Playa Beach.
Yeah.
Are they all named after places in Barcelona?
Maybe actually, I don't know.
Billy, pick that bone. What's the bone you got?
They didn't have regular New York style pizza at the Sparrows. It was just like square. It was like Frankie's Pizza at Sparrows, and it's like if I want Frankie's Pizza, I'll go to Frankie's Pizza, not Sparrows.
It's taking quite the liberty with Sparrows.
That's what I'm saying, and I was gonna ask them like, do we have like regular pizza here?
So they have
But
grandma slices, not New York style slices.
It was like
The squares.
it was the squares, and then I was like looking at the menu, like, did I miss something? And it's still on there. There's still a price for it, but I'm like, am I gonna wait?
Did you buy
here?
it or do you go somewhere else?
No, I ended up going somewhere else.
I have
'cause
never once been tempted to eat Sbarro's pizza.
You haven't lived. You've never had a Sparrows pizza.
I think you've lived.
Oh,
You've
get
never,
outta here.
you've never like smelled it, like walked
Yeah,
past
and
your
it
nose.
smells like
It's mid.
pizza I don't want.
It is.
You guys are just.
it
the
is kinda
worst.
mid.
I can't wait to go on vacation.
Because I don't like Sbarro's pizza.
Exactly right. You've never had mall pizza at all?
Mall pizza? No. When I go to the mall food court,
Yeah, you gotta
First
go.
off,
Panda
yeah.
Express
Panda Express
or Charlie's.
I think the pandemic. Charlie's. Well, the thing about
That's
Charlie's
crazy.
is when they have the sample, you're like, am I in the mood for a Philly cheesesteak? But the pandemic kind of ruined the samples.
yeah, the samplers are back at the Broward Mall. I saw last week.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah.
Are they back?
Yeah, samples are back.
It was at like they were like that at the Broward Mall. It's like a staple. You walk into the Broward Mall. I entered through that food court for this reason.
I do the same at Dayland.
You get, your
Yeah,
little,
oh,
you get,
Dayland
you
has
get a
good
couple
samples.
snacks on the way. There was
I
only one
love
though.
perusing the food court samples. It's like I'm looking at art, high end art. Like they could really sway me.
Because Panda,
It's usually
yeah,
just shitty chicken.
Panda Express.
My mic's not on.
Yeah,
I was
gonna
just
say,
talking about how good teriyaki
I thought it was
chicken
my
was.
headphones. I was like, is this?
I turned my mic off because I was looking at the Dolphin Mall directory, and so far I can
You've
only
never been?
find.
You've never
no,
been?
I've been to the Bass Pro Shops, but so far I can
So
only
you haven't
find.
been-
That's
If-
barely
Salt
having
Lake.
been. to
If
the
you've
Dolphin
been to Bass Pro Shops only at Dolphin Mall, you have not been to
not.
Dolphin
Yeah.
Mall. It's a totally different
You gotta
My
go to
experience.
dog
Playa
loved the
Beach.
aquarium. Did
Your
you guys
dog
see,
went?
by the way, there was a giant aquarium in Berlin that exploded over the weekend?
I did see that.
Yeah, ruptured.
It looked like a disaster.
There were like
area.
1,500 fish that just flew out of this aquarium, like into the street.
Well, I hope everybody was okay. That's
I don't think the fish were.
I hope the fish will.
I can only find Ramblas and Playa. Is there another?
I think the third, like right in the middle area, has a name also.
Okay, it's not showing up on the directory.
Hold on,
By
let
Journey?
me see.
Why does Dolphin
On
Mall
last
seem like it's a lot older than it is actually?
How old is it?
It's
Probably a
it's
distinct lack of
2000 something.
renovation
Like
would probably-
2002, 2003 is
No,
when they
get out of
first
here.
started it.
They added a whole like outdoor eating section in the front.
Yeah.
They've done work to
Around
it.
the turn of the century,
Still
we
no
had
roller
Sunset
coaster.
Place and Dolphin Mall happen
Sunset
at the
Place
same
is
time.
super sad.
It's super sad.
Super
In
sad.
20 years, it looks like a mall. It looks like International Mall or Mall of the
That's
America.
really sad too.
Which
Yeah,
they changed the name
International's
of Mall of
bad.
the America.
I know. It's
Yeah,
called.
it's like midway of the Americas or something. Like they switched.
I think it
There's
used to be Midway Mall, but now it's like that place.
There's a general era of construction where if your thing got constructed in that time, it now is the time to either destroy it or fix it. That buildings, like probably.
Do you want to destroy the Dolphin Mall? Is that what you
What's
just
wrong
said?
with you?
No, I mean
How dare you.
I went to Nissan Stadium in Nashville, and they're already thinking about building a new stadium.
No, they
because,
are.
Yeah.
They are
Right,
building a new
That
stadium.
stadium's falling apart.
Right, but that stadium was built in like 1995. It's not that old.
Yeah.
And yet, like, there was just a time where
They don't make
just,
them like they used to. Witty.
right. It was just like seats and concrete, and that's the stadium.
Yeah.
And like you go on the club level, there's nothing about it. I read over the weekend that Cowboy Stadium is having $290 million pumped into it already because they need to improve things. That stadium is 13 years old.
Well, there's rumors that they're going to host the next World Cup final,
Yeah.
so they gotta alter something.
Was there anyone when Argentina was like about to win and you're like, oh my God, all these fans are gonna go crazy? Was there any part of you like, I hope this stadium can take all the jumping that's about to happen in it? Because these stadiums were like new; they were just recently.
Spoken like someone who works in Miami-Dade County.
I'm just saying, like
The main stadium, I have very little doubts about. I did have plenty of concern about the one that was just shipping containers
Right.
that was assembled for the World Cup and then disassembled right afterwards. Luckily, that one after
Wasn't the final.
after like one knockout game, they
Okay.
already tore that stadium down, I think. But the main final, you know that they're going to get that one right.
Yeah.
And
It's like 88,000 seats too. It's a giant stadium.
I started seeing IG reels of what the luxury boxes were going to look like there, and I'm like, there's just no way people this wealthy are going to perish. It's just going to work out for them.
they're
I mean,
they're
then
too
you-
important.
Then you think of the Titanic, though, and you're like, there
Yeah.
is historic precedent for this.
Yeah, the Hindenburg as well. But honestly, the Hindenburg, just conceptually, what were we doing?
Why were Zeppelins a thing?
Yeah, I don't understand.
The Empire State Building was built with like a spire on the top, or like a Zeppelin landing port on the top of it, because that was how people thought that like in the future we would travel. Someone would need to park their Zeppelin on top of the Empire State Building. in
Just
New York.
flawed. Just a flawed concept from
Yeah.
the very beginning. Here is this flammable balloon.
Yeah.
Have at it.
But Chris, to answer your question, have you seen those viral videos? The main soccer Instagram and TikTok accounts will put this out like once every 2 months to get engagement because the home of Boca Juniors in Argentina, La Bombonera, is probably the most iconic soccer stadium. Not because it's that nice to look at, but because it's so tight and the fans are insane. And so, like, you will see, like, the fans jump up and down, and then when there are goals scored, everyone rushes to the front of this stand,
That's
and they're
dangerous.
running down like these kind of blocks to get there. It's terrifying, but when they show all the fans like jumping up and down at the same time because Boca are doing well, you will see there's like a crack in the concrete in one of the ends, and the crack starts to split.
It's called
You
Camp Randall
literally-
Stadium.
You literally see it
When
cracking.
I did jump around for the first time, I was
That always makes me nervous,
terrified.
too.
I was like,
that
you know
looks
what?
like
I
so
don't want
much
to go
fun.
to school here.
Do they have aluminum bones there or concrete
I think
bones?
it's concrete.
That's really terrifying.
scary.
Because I've done the bounce
I don't know for
house
sure, though.
at UCF, and that feels very unsafe. But it's kind of like high school bleachers that are just reinforced.
Yeah, because it's a fake school.
And
Whoa.
you understand that.
Cool.
You understand why it was a cool atmosphere. You understand why that kind of setup would have give. But concrete, that's very unsettling. And they have these high rises here when it gets super windy. They're supposed to move with the wind, and that always kind of weirds me out. I don't want a structure moving at all.
Well, it has to move a little bit. It has to sway, or else it's actually less structurally sound.
They keep saying that, and when you're
I don't.
in it,
You don't
I don't
buy
feel
it. I don't buy that.
I don't think so.
You
I don't want.
buy-
I don't.
You go against conventional
Yeah.
engineering of every
Yeah.
modern engineer.
I would rather a building not move, personally.
Louis Sullivan, get the fuck out of here. That building's not supposed to move. I know better. I'm Louis Sullivan? No, actually, but he sounds like one.
Does.
Lewis Hamilton, yeah. It's a good call, Billy. Would be a good race car driver name.
I had nothing left to watch NFL football, and it was a good NFL Sunday. I came to around the witching hour, and I saw that there were 2 overtime games, and then I passed back out.
Saints
But
Falcons just couldn't do it for you
I
after
didn't-
that.
I couldn't. I went
Cowboys
to,
Jags was amazing. Like
we were at a
I wish
sports bar.
I watched the whole of that game. I know very little about it other than about that final pick six.
we have a group chat that the bones are basically soccer. And we were obviously all talking about that incredible World Cup final, and it was so great that we just all wanted to meet together and talk about the game. And we went to Sports Grill South Miami, and they had NFL everywhere. I barely barely a glance up at the TV. All my time after that World Cup final was spent talking about,
Yeah.
oh my
Same.
God, the Emmy Martinez save. And
It was like every 15 minutes, us looking at our friends going, holy shit, that was amazing.
It really was,
Like, that
man.
was all like, and we sounded like such morons probably, but it just, you can't help but just repeat
It was-
over and over again. That was incredible.
It was so good that I'm already bored with the take that it's the best World Cup final ever because everyone's saying it.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I mean,
it's so, but
well,
like,
we don't have Messi Ronaldo to discuss anymore, so I'd rather
Dude,
debate best World Cup finals. You have
so good,
I
man.
can't think of a better one in my lifetime.
Japan USA women's World Cup final was really good.
Yeah.
The 06. If you look back at the game though, the 06 men's final between Italy and France.
That one was what I was thinking,
very
but
theatrical,
it
but
was
the game.
just because of the drama at the end. It
Yeah.
wasn't actually like
The headbutt.
the game.
2014 as well went to extra time. Argentina to win it at the Maracanã. And Brazil extra
It wasn't
time.
a great game though.
No.
It wasn't. This
And,
was
and by the way, this wasn't a great game either for 75 minutes.
Dude,
I was
like,
falling asleep in the
about,
second half.
we need to give my dad credit. I'm watching with him in like the 68th minute. He's like, we need a goal quick from France or this is going to be a terrible final.
Yeah.
yeah.
We were
was
all
headed that
all
way.
kind of looking around going like,
Calling it.
this is like,
and then we got two
Argentina
in 90
has
seconds.
Argentina
That's-
completely dominated
But
that
I
game.
mean, the second goal, for me, I was satisfied. The second goal was
so
so world
beautiful.
class. The build up to the second goal is like, okay, we have our crowning achievement. Messi's the demi-goat. We don't have to have that discussion anymore. It was a great tournament. And then around minute 73, everything got turned upside down. And within like almost instantly, I was still talking about the first goal and thinking that, okay, France are probably going to have a couple more chances. As you were still reacting to the first goal, a bazooka shot from Mbappe's foot, and all of a sudden you're level, and you're wondering how you got there. There were so many twists and turns. It was, for me, the best soccer game I've ever seen. When you consider the stakes, when you consider all the social capital that goes into this ridiculous GOAT debate, because there can only be one, like Highlander. We can't appreciate multiple people. And just 36 years for Argentina, the fact that we were about to see potentially a men's World Cup champion defend their crown. There were so many firsts that we were about to experience collectively, and the game just would not stop being crazy afterwards in a sport that, let's face it, you don't have 6-goal games like that.
My favorite tweets were all the people that are like soccer fans that were like, yes, non-soccer fans, every game is like this.
I dare you to turn on Boxing Day a week from now and find that all Premier League games are just like this.
Yeah, but I'm really happy that normally in this country it's no longer the case. But after a World Cup final, you'd run into legacy media talents that wouldn't even discuss it or just pull out the same lame talking points. And from non-soccer fans to the biggest football heads I know, everyone was still talking about that. And while I don't like a Winter World Cup and it made my NFL viewing experience really diluted, I like that for once that was the lead-in for an NFL Sunday, because I do think that some fans were made. How could you, if you hate soccer with intensity, if you intensely hate that sport, even you had to step back and say, holy shit, that was pretty cool.
Di Maria crying after scoring a goal, like that emotion, just so cool.
the
Andros Cantor needs to get it together.
Oh my God.
I will not hear Andres Cantor slander today. That was incredible. But yeah, I mean, to like straight up start ball, I will say he found it from within himself, because it looked like he was going to start crying in the bosom of his partner on that video. And then like he sort of like leans in, he's there for like a second, he goes, Argentina campeón, like he finds it again to be a professional again.
It was worse because that's how I was listening to it. He
boy.
he apologized at one point.
Did he really?
Yeah, and his like partners were like, "It's okay, everybody understands." I'm like, "Get it together, guys."
Did you watch the celebration from the broadcasters to the players to the streets of Buenos Aires that are still
The
packed?
streets of North Beach.
I went down- I probably went down-
learned that there's a thriving Argentinian community in North Beach yesterday.
Did you watch all of that and say to yourself, "Oh man, the U.S. men are never going to win this. It's just never going to be that important to us."
People were honking outside my window for hours while I was trying to nap yesterday afternoon.
we were driving down
It was
US
insane.
1 and people were hanging out their cars like
Flags
waving the
everywhere.
Argentinian flag.
But no, I didn't watch any of the celebration because my Fox switched to the Jacksonville Jaguars
To FS1.
Cowboys game,
Yeah.
and I tried to turn on FS1, and the Fox app crashed.
Oh boy.
So I couldn't even watch the trophy celebration. And
to
instead I
America's
just
Telemundo
gave
was
up.
there for you.
I know. I should have turned on Telemundo, but I was like, I'm not going to understand what they're saying anyways. I don't
I
know
mean,
any
it was
Spanish.
all sights and oh god, the chair. Oh god,
Yeah.
the chair. It's all sights and sounds.
Yeah, I know. I should have turned
Honestly,
on
like the
Telemundo.
camera was trained on Lionel Messi for 15 straight minutes, and it wasn't long enough.
No.
Like it was incredible to
That's
watch.
what I wanted to watch.
To watch hug after hug
I needed
after
a
hug.
split screen.
They were slow to get to him when he
Were
won. When they
yeah.
won, it was like I was like
Well-
they were like 3 minutes in.
Yeah,
I'm like,
no,
where's
the-
Messi?
I
The
was
world
listening-
feed was like skipping between all the other players too. I saw people complaining to Fox about that, but it's not really their
Yeah,
fault.
they don't
They
switch
should have
the
put a
cameras.
little thing, a little box
Oh,
in the
Messi
bottom.
cam?
Yeah.
Little picture in picture?
Yeah.
I was listening to the Football Daily, the BBC produced thing, and they said that it was a very bizarre after they won because literally no one knew what to do, and then some players decided that they were going to go to Messi, and some
Look
players,
at me, Louis, and the team, by the
Yeah,
way.
they're
The
just-
lot of them. They all wanted to be in the picture for all times when Lionel Messi falls to his knees and wins the World Cup. They wanted to be in the picture.
Because they all started running, and then he just dropped because he was standing.
dropped.
and then they were like, "Oh, let's go back to Messi."
You know who my favorite Argentinian? Paulo Dybala, because he ran to Emiliano Martinez to celebrate with the goalkeeper, who was the hero of the shootout.
Well-
not Messi. This was not captured in all the glorious footage. The goalkeepers who you go to first in that spot.
But the goalkeeper had a pretty large contingent of people celebrating with him too. The person that was totally left out in the
Guy who
cold
scored?
was Montiel, who scored the game-winning PK.
Right.
And they said that he was just by himself with the supporters. That he won them the World Cup with his kick, and everybody kind of forgot about him, and he was very confused, and he was just celebrating it with strangers.
He also had the handball though too. If it wasn't for that, I
But
mean,
he
he wouldn't even be in
also
the
he
spot.
also
Let's get
nearly
serious.
scored the goal of the tournament.
Ah,
Yeah.
That leaping,
nearly. You said that. You said
Yeah,
the key
do
word.
it.
No,
Nearly.
Exactly,
dude, but
do
that,
it.
That
I
leap-
nearly scored the goal.
Me
France
too. I got a
nearly
bad
won.
foot. Give me a break.
That leaping volley from 25 yards out that Rafa Varane just the slightest of leaps to get in the way, he fucking wellied that ball.
The
That-
best-
like
Mark it.
The best shot on goal that didn't go in was from Morocco, where he did the bicycle kick and it hit the
Oh,
post.
that was crazy.
no,
That
it
was
wasn't.
incredible.
Lloris got fingertips to that.
He did,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
if the post wasn't there and he had another maybe like I don't know half inch would have gone in.
When people, when Lloris doesn't like make a save, do people call him the slow Loris?
I don't get the reference.
I don't get it.
Can you explain it?
Ron McGill can explain it.
okay.
It's an animal.
If I scored the
Loris.
goal, I'd run over and grab the ball.
Sorry, Sloris.
I was trying to watch what happened with the ball. It seemed like it just stayed there for a little bit.
I have PTSD from PKs because of my own high school soccer career, so I
Oh.
just black out the entire time that
Did
I'm watching them.
did you miss a notable one?
I double doinked a PK to go to the state championship.
You
Oof.
Cody Parkied?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm
but
sorry.
I did score the only goal of the entire game, and then my coach sat me for 4 overtimes actually, because for some reason high school girls soccer in Illinois you play 4 overtimes
Huh?
and the entire second half. So you know what? I said, screw it, coach. I don't want you to win the state championship anyways.
It'll get forgotten because it was such a great game. But that first penalty called against, like, that was a bullshit call.
I don't think so.
I mean, there was
It
a
didn't get
little
reviewed.
contact.
It didn't get reviewed though,
Right?
No,
there was a little contact, but he clearly in his brain was like, there was contact, it's time for me to fall, and then fell.
It didn't get reviewed in the conventional theatrical sense where
Right,
someone
they
goes
looked
to a
at it.
monitor, but they looked at it, and I think it evens out because I think France, their first PK was on the same level
It
as
was-
the one that was
yeah.
awarded.
Right, that's why I was happy. But if it finishes 1-0,
That's that.
I'm like, that
I
was
had
that's
the
bullshit.
same debate with Cynthia, my wife. She's like, "That's not a penalty." I'm like, "Is it a foul?" She's like, "I guess if it happens in the middle of the field." Well, I'm like, "Babe,
In
it
real
happened. It's a
time,
foul
it
that happens in the
looked like
box."
it.
Is
If
what
you
it
And then you
negate
watch
both
that
of them,
replay, I
though,
was like,
if you negate both of them in regulation, oh god,
The chair.
this
fight
seat,
through,
too.
fight through.
the chair. No, this one's
Then
on
you
Stugotz
still
and
are
Dan.
left with an amazing tactical
Right.
play from Argentina and Mbappe's unbelievable shot from France.
I
So
think it
worked itself out.
It did work itself out, and ultimately, I thought the game was well officiated. If you hyperanalyze it, it's like
That
confirmation
dude's
bias.
jacked.
Yeah, was he wearing neck pads? There was something going on. There was something weird with his
That,
shoulder.
the ref.
The ref, really?
Yeah, he had some. I think he was wearing a pad on his shoulder too. Anytime that he would extend it up.
Great refereeing performance, I thought.
Yeah, especially from the fourth official. MLS is
Oh,
on.
yeah, MLS's Ismail Elfath. Well done.
I swear, when I
America
heard an
represented.
American was involved, I was like, I don't know. I'm worried. It makes me nervous. Are we prepared for this?
Oh,
This
man.
is the biggest moment in like American
They
soccer
should
history.
send an NFL ref out there. They should send like John Hussey to the World Cup.
One of the refs being American is the biggest American World Cup moment in history.
We medaled.
Yeah, it's the fourth official.
That's great.
He got a medal from Gianni Infantino.
Oh, he got a medal. Then there you go.
Yeah, we got a
He won
men's.
something.
I was
gold
rooting
medal.
so hard for him to get the final because he's a little bit of a look at me Louie as well. And so I was wondering if he was going to get there and just piss off the entire world. Like, I honestly, if he were the referee for the game, I would have been rooting for the referee more than Messi.
I love the meme of him and Messi where he's standing behind him, just saying, "You're gonna love Fort Lauderdale."
I saw that. We all saw Argentina's keeper's celebration with the trophy.
Right in front of the Emir.
Which is
Yeah.
apparently a thing that he does. He
Yeah.
takes every trophy.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
So he's a
when
child.
When
He's
he
a
won
12-year-old boy.
Copa America. Yeah, like
Chris
I
Cote
saw,
of the day.
Yeah.
I saw a series of photographs of
We
him
should
doing the
start handing out
celebration
that.
multiple
We
times.
should create a Chris Cote of the Day award.
There's a time and place, Emmy. There's a time and place. No, that guy's a lunatic. He's certifiable. That goalkeeper.
So he just does that?
He does-
Like, that's his
Yeah,
thing.
that's like
no,
his
that's
thing.
not
Like,
just
he
his
takes-
only thing.
Like everything's his wiener.
yeah, there's
I
like
suppose.
if he's hosing plants and someone turns to him, he'll just do like the
Oh.
hose is my penis.
I get it.
Yeah,
Chris
but
Cote of the Day. Wow.
he famously in a Copa America final, this was during the pandemic and it was an empty stadium and there was a PK situation and you could hear him cursing and yelling in Spanish at the opposing. Apparently he did some shit that didn't land well either. Like he tossed a ball at one of the PK.
No, when
takers.
Tchouaméni went to go, he grabs the ball and just sort of chucks it off to the side.
Yeah, that's a little poor form. I didn't
Yeah.
notice it in the moment.
Neither did I.
because
Neither
was
did
so
I. The
enraptured by
BBC
everything.
commentators picked up on it and like they were like, "How is that not a yellow?"
Yeah,
Respectfully, all keepers are psychopaths.
you have to be.
They are crazy people.
Yeah.
It
He's
is-
got yeah.
Yeah, it's like the kickers of soccer. It's
in
like
that
that guy's a little weird.
in that everybody hates
Maybe
them.
long snapper.
In that everybody hates them, but you have to kind of be a little mental, especially to contest some of the balls that they do. But Emmy is a class above.
He has the edge there at this point. Like at first it was just like he's weird when it comes to PKs, and now it's just like you look at the
this is
numbers.
his third
he's
major.
good
This
at
is
this.
third major shootout.
He's
that basically
legitimately
won on
in
his
their
own.
head. Like
he has
he's
a
in their head.
psychological edge.
Yeah.
He has a psychological edge when it comes to PKs, and you could see he's the last two. He really made things easy for Argentina, which, as you can see, they had trouble holding on to 2-0 leads. So a pressure-filled instance where they have to take PKs. I don't necessarily like their chances, but Emmy, with the big save early on, allows his team to grow in confidence over there. And you could see it too. It manifests in him doing that weird shimmy thing. He does shit that I've never seen a goalkeeper do in PKs.
Yeah, he won the Copa America semifinal against Colombia with these sort of tactics. Won the quarterfinal for them. And you mentioned when Di Maria started crying after the second goal, that is sort of the national character of Argentina. Like they are, I would say, by far the most emotional footballing nation. And you can tell from the way that they celebrate when they lost to Saudi Arabia in the opening day of the group, which is now one of the most stunning. It's sort of like when we've talked about week one results. They're like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Losing the opening day of the group to Saudi Arabia is the most stunning result of this World Cup. But you go back to like that, the nation went into full meltdown after losing one game and being 0-0 after 60 minutes with Mexico as well in game 2 of the group stage. Like 36, they haven't won any of the last 9 World Cups. That's not that many World Cups, but 36 years is a long time for them to have not won a title when they think that they're the best footballing nation, that they should win every tournament that they enter. They have Messi. How are we not going to win a World Cup with Messi? And so the way that they feel it, and I always kind of thought during this World Cup that emotion would at some point betray them, that like they would almost get too.
I mean, nearly did.
Right, but
We
like,
saw 2 knockout matches where they just totally fell apart in epic fashion.
But I don't think it was like. I don't think it was like that sort of meltdown where like they just completely lost the plot and started doing dumb stuff. They just got beat on a couple of occasions.
Man, you know that someone's listening to this and they're like, what are you talking about? They went ahead in extra time and then they conceded a handball penalty. I did think that if those games were longer, they would have found ways. Argentina kept showing us that if you ever thought that they had it in hand, chances are that something kooky would happen. They're just one of those teams.
I mean, Martinez, that save late in the game, dude. If he doesn't make that, I mean, what are we talking about here?
I saw a shot of the France bench getting ready to run on the field to celebrate winning the World Cup, and like a few of them had taken steps on the field, like. No,
Yeah.
they had genuinely
That
thought that
save
they
was
won
crazy.
that they won the World Cup when that player was in behind.
Going back to the so-called lewd gesture with the trophy, it's not so much the gesture alone; it's also the face he's making while he's doing it. It's, really a weird thing there for
the trophy
Chris Cote of the day.
left little doubt that trophy is supposed to signify his penis, and time and place, I'd say, right in front of the Emir of Qatar is.
I mean, I guess like fair play for being consistent though.
Yeah.
Like if there was a time
You
where you're
got a
like,
thing, I
I'm
guess.
gonna be demure here and not be the person who I usually am, it would be while literally the entire world is watching.
And in retrospect, I did enjoy because Qatar really wanted that World Cup final to have that. They wanted the still images. It's why they gave Messi the ceremonial garb. It's why, to an annoying degree, the Emir and Infantino were walking Messi to his teammates. It was just
so tedious. So tedious.
Look at me, Louis. And for Emi Martinez to have the lasting image of that entire presentation actually does bring a smile to my face. I'll afford him the one-time pass.
How about Messi getting the ball 2-2 with like in extra time? He gets the ball at the top of the box with that shot. He like was it in an extra time? There was
The save from
No,
Hugo Lloris.
it was the last kick of the second half.
Yeah.
That shot that he gets away.
right, but it ended up being a comfortable save. But he had a shot with like
I don't even know how comfortable it was. Like,
But
fair
I'm
play to
it was in tight
Lloris.
space.
But you don't want Messi, like that was essentially Messi with the game, like he could have hit a game winner
He-
in the World Cup. Imagine if Messi makes that goal.
Dude.
A winner in extra time.
So many of those moments. And,
Yeah.
and Messi did have the moment, and the handball kind of took it away. It's just, we were looking at each other, and we covered it in morally abhorrent. It's just, if you're the biggest hater in the world, and we had lunch with the biggest hater in the world, and he was trying, and it felt pathetic. But he with his performances, he left so little doubt. He did everything that you could ask for. Even when he wasn't scoring, he was still finding ways to put it on frame and force these incredible saves out of Hugo Lloris. He's the demigod. We've never seen anything like that in the men's
The
game.
walking around makes more sense when you see him like that. You know what I
Right.
mean? The first couple games of the
way that he
tournament,
sparks to life.
the first couple games of the tournament, when that walk, I was like, no, not a good teammate. Now, great teammate.
I can't
You
wait.
could see how much they all love him. Like
Yes.
against
Yeah.
my point, you could see just the relief and how happy they were for him.
Kind of why you were when you had that take about a week and a half ago. I just let you go through it, but
mean, it's just
I
the
can't wait to
optics.
discuss that final 20 years from now because it does seem like Mbappe's also on an all-time trajectory too, and to be able to see those two in a men's World Cup final perform like that. Mbappe has a hat trick, does everything that he can. He was on the precipice of winning a second World Cup at the age of 23. It would have been, the discussion would have easily been flipped. Yeah, we would have mourned Messi and we would have had this ridiculous debate that seemingly would have no end until Messi ended it with an exclamation point. But we would have turned our attention to Kylian Mbappe and we would have started crowning him and making him the next greatest we've ever seen.
Is he the Pat Mahomes of soccer?
Yeah.
I think that's actually a really good shout in terms of like stylistically and the way that he goes about scoring his goals. Again, Kylian Mbappe is 23 years old. There are 5 players in the history of the World Cup that have scored more World Cup goals than him. Like it's insane to be at 12 already. He makes playing in World Cup finals and World Cup matches seem relatively blasé, like it's actually not that big of a deal that he's just scoring goals in them as if they were, Saturday night games against Montpellier in Ligue 1. Like it's actually relatively easy for him, and that is shocking considering the size of the stage, the way that normally pressure gets to these players. Like Lionel Messi did not score a knockout round World Cup goal until his 5th World Cup.
Yeah.
And Mbappe scored, I think
Mbappe
he scored
3 in
6.
30 minutes.
Well, he scored 3 in 30 minutes. He scored a brace against Poland. I think he had 6 World Cup knockout round goals
And
in just this tournament.
He didn't get he basically trotted around for 10 minutes against Tunisia, so he missed a group match to pad his stats. He's got to break Klose's men's tournament record in the group stage of the next World Cup.
He only needs 4 goals.
It's
to tie closer.
to tie closer. Like he's gonna do that in his 20s.
He's getting closer.
Play on. I liked it. I liked it.
But I mean, like
Good
that
for you.
It is stunning. It is stunning to be that level. What was that, Tony?
Stunning.
Was that your English accent?
Wow.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I love this limited fake.
Thank
Please
you.
more.
Stunning.
That's all you got? That's the only,
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
like
only
a
word you can
paragraph.
say?
Maybe a
Stunning?
paragraph.
Yeah, but it was
Give us a
good.
paragraph on the World Cup in a British accent.
Oh, okay. I gotta write it down.
Tony's
I can't
top
cut off
five
the
from the World
paragraph.
Cup
Oh, yeah,
in
I
a
mean, I
British
could.
accent.
Yeah,
Looking
give
at
me-
Tony's top 5.
All right, give me a second. I'm gonna have to.
I
draw
thought
that
if
stuff
if
out.
France won, people were clamoring for a World Cup minute in French, and I was getting ready to write
Oh,
it.
boy.
I had my French connections helping me out, ready to go, and then they lost, and I was like, I'm not gonna bother those people now.
I would have understood Sacre Bleu.
There would have been a big mailed right in
Yeah.
the middle.
By the way, the all-time record for goals scored in the Women's World Cup all-time is 17.
Marta?
So, yeah, Marta, because she played in 5. I'm doing
Legend.
she's
been a-
she-
And
Is there a
Played-
question mark on that
played in
telestrator?
5.
Played in 5.
Oh,
yeah.
03,
hard to-
07, 11,
it's hard to
15, and
do.
19.
It's hard to have that kind of longevity.
Right. So I mean, Mbappe's
gonna break close to Marta.
five away from that.
He's going to do it in the group stage because they're going to
Yeah.
because they're going to play like Chinese Taipei or something like that in the first group match, and because they're expanding the World Cup. So
Yeah.
there's going to be in every group someone that's going to get shellacked like 8-0.
Yeah, that pot 4 team.
Yeah.
Presuming that there's going to be groups of 4, that fourth team is going to be odds against to do anything of significance. But to me, the thing that most stuck out about yesterday is that yes, Messi had his moment. He converted his penalty, which, as someone who was very much rooting for the Messi narrative yesterday, that for me was the most important thing. Was all right, he's going first. Please, dear God, just make your penalty. Because in 2016, he put his in row 20 of MetLife Stadium, and he's had some signature penalty misses. But the thing that like kind of made me a bit sad was that, like you said, basically the last kick of the second half, he could put a ball in the top corner. If he scores from 20 yards out in that moment and puts it in a corner, that's the goal for all times in the history of the World Cup. And then does score the go-ahead goal in the second period of extra time of a World Cup final, and that's not the moment either because of a handball like 3 minutes later. Like Messi was sort of denied like him falling to his knees, the goals that he scored, the performance of the tournament, but like the moment for all times. It wasn't completely there for him, and God, I was rooting for that so hard yesterday. By the end of the game, I was surprised. We talked on Morally Abhorrent on Wednesday and on Friday. Like, who am I rooting for in this game? Because generally, as non-Argentinian Hispanics, you generally root against Argentina.
Yeah.
They are a fairly loathsome footballing nation, I must say. But over the course of this tournament,
even my friends, I don't like them. I know.
But like over the course of this tournament, they became likable. And I don't know if
did.
it was because of Messi,
He's so cute.
or if it's just sort of because their collective footballing trauma has finally softened them a little bit to where they're not as braggadocious as they usually are. But I wanted Argentina to win.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's like, all right, I got my laughs. I have reveled in your failures for so long, and I was the same way. I had a future that I was rooting on, but I kind of got swept up in this Messi storyline. I mentioned yesterday that I entered this tournament as a Ronaldo guy. I just preferred his game, and Messi made a fan out of me, like a super fan out of me, and I got swept up in it. I was waiting to see how I would feel in the final, and I found myself celebrating that first goal, that PK that he made yet again, because he kept systematically taking apart everything that you could hold against him. He struggles with PKs in these moments. Can he do it? And at every turn, he rose to the occasion. And you gotta stop hating. You have to hand it to him. So I was in on that. And when France started making a game of it and then ultimately equalized it, I wasn't devastated either. I was like, holy shit, we're all experiencing this together. How amazing is this going to be? And there were about 7 moments in that game where my jaw was on the floor. It is the ultimate in sports. It might be the single greatest sporting event I've ever seen.
Yeah, and other people are saying that. And I think the reason why it's so easy to make that argument is because there aren't many other sports that the globe agrees on, right? So this is certainly one of them. Where, and I said this on our Morally Abhorrent pregame show yesterday, got yelled at by our audience for it, by saying this game is orders of magnitude bigger than the Super Bowl. Because the Super Bowl is massive here, but it's not big anywhere else. It's not like stopping the streets anywhere else. The World Cup final does that to people. Football, the world's version of it, does that to people. But what's second? Like, what is the second sport? And I saw on Twitter yesterday, someone came up with the Thrill in Manila. Or like big boxing fights also do translate like that across cultures. There is something about boxing that is a global sport, but there are many others where
in America, we kind of need an American to excel in boxing because there are these huge pugilist spectacles, and you have to run to a streaming service and you have no idea where it is because the champions.
It was on closed circuit television back in the day.
I think F1 is in that discussion.
That's true.
F1's a global phenomenon in tennis as well.
Yeah, I mean that the final of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix last year was a global event in a similar way, but it doesn't there is something that's so easily understandable about the stakes of the World Cup final that who doesn't. I saw the average global audience for the 2014 World Cup final, which is the most viewed television event in the history of sports, was 567 million people. And people were expecting that to be broken yesterday. And it had to have been. That had to have been the biggest event in the history of the globe. And so I think that is the biggest sporting event that we've ever seen. And that most people, I saw even people who are generations older than I saying that yesterday as well. That people in their 60s. There was nothing will ever top that.
It's one thing for me without this huge archive of games to scan in my brain, in my little 37-year-old brain, to take from. But when I hear legacy media in Europe saying immediately, that's the greatest spectacle we've ever seen, that's the greatest match of all time, does give credence, because in the moment I felt like, my God, I've never seen anything like this. There have been crazy Champions League comebacks that you remember, whether it be Barca's collapse against Liverpool or even the Champions League final, which I would put in that class between AC Milan and Liverpool's insane comeback. Prior to this, I would have said in men's soccer, that's the greatest final I had ever seen. 2012 between Chelsea and Bayern Munich also had all sorts of drama, but this one, when that second goal went in from Mbappé, I was already at the doorstep of that take. That this might be the greatest thing I've ever seen. And then you take into account extra time, the saves that we saw. It was a game with 6 goals, and there were memorable saves. The goalkeeping, you couldn't blame either keeper. The Emi Martinez save, the moments that Messi had, the near moments that Messi had, the sheer terror that filled every Argentinian supporters anytime Mbappe was running down and making a long run for service. The build-ups to these goals, the moves before the move, everything was just so heightened. It was, like I said, we went to a sports bar that was playing NFL, nary a glance. It was still everyone talking as breathless. And I've maintained this. We're about 24 hours removed, and I still cannot believe what I saw.
If we're talking about why people rooted for Messi, I think it's like if you've experienced in your life any mortality at all, like the last one and all of the big build-up for it, I feel like that is why people were rooting for Messi. As much as just the story, it's like, I feel I'm getting older. Like, why? I want this guy to do this.
Because if you're an adult, you've heard about Messi for about 20 years. I remember Messi trotting onto the field for the first time in the 2006 World Cup. He was a child, a fresh-faced kid. And you've seen him grow up. You've seen him get tattoos. You've seen him have a family. And you've seen him fail over and over again. And you've seen him give the banter advantage to Ronaldo fans. And you've seen him be embarrassed. You've seen him retire internationally because of the weight of the expectation that he's had. Everybody can understand it. And for him to finally come through, pull through, it's one of the great stories that even if you hated soccer, you had a connection point to it. And I loved every second of it.
Can I make fun of the Patriots now?
Oh, finally.
And here's another thing we've seen from Messi. You've seen him evade his taxes. How about that?
Yeah, Jesus. The only time I ever thought, like, God, maybe I'm wrong about Mac Jones is when he was interviewed by Chris Cote. I'm like, God, this guy's a little likable here.
Yeah.
It was good.
We got him to do the gritty.
Note to PR reps. Chris Cote can make
Honestly,
Not bad, not
would-
bad. I was like, I did the gritty, and he's just like,
You have
not bad, not bad.
You have a limited fake Mac Jones, and that's all it is. It's just not bad, not bad. But honestly, Chris, that you should sell that to PR people. We should get our guest bookers this little tidbit of information. Your person will come out in a better light if they do an interview with Chris Cote. Like you should be a stop on the PR tour.
Maybe that's what my podcast will be called.
a
Stop on the PR tour.
Yes.
That's
Get
like a
on
great
that.
podcast
Yeah,
name.
Yes.
Yeah. There's something very sad happening in these studios right now. Bob is officially changing the TVs off of Telemundo.
Oh no.
There was
Why?
a sadness yesterday when it was all done of like, oh no.
Oh,
The
but
World Cup's
normally
over.
normally the final doesn't
Really?
normally the final doesn't deliver to the point where you're sort of left wanting more. I had enough. I was like,
Wow.
I got my fill,
Wow.
and I was so entertained, so thoroughly entertained by that final. I was like, you know what? I'm good. I might need a week off, which is what we're getting. We're getting
And then Boxing Day.
Did you have a cigarette afterwards?
no, I
needed
did not.
one.
I needed one.
Yeah.
I had several
He
beers.
did.
but-
He had a cider. He was like, all right.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
Wacky
Yeah.
Whittingham.
He's like, I'm
Wow.
gonna kick my feet up,
On a Sunday.
finish
I
my
mean,
broadcasting duties.
Wow.
I'm gonna toast everything that happened here. I'm gonna get a little nuts.
We get an angry orchard.
I'm gonna have a cider.
Yeah, I went for a strongbow yesterday at the Irish pub.
No ice too. Like,
my
yeah.
understanding, Mike, is, and we have to follow this whenever it happens because it doesn't happen often. There was an angry Whittingham situation at the bar.
Dude, it's the most
Really?
most attractive he's ever been in his entire life. It's like, who's this hulking man speaking with bass in his voice? It was a moment. So we figured out.
Please explain. Thank
so
you. Yes.
we figured out at the Old Dubliner, and thanks to them for hosting us. We figured out that Old Dubliner was streaming the final on a streaming service, and Witty, from glancing at his phone a couple of times, realized that we were on delay, which is fine. I've grown accustomed to watching some events on delay, but as the game progressed, we realized, oh shit, we're not just slightly delayed, we're really delayed.
A minute and 40 seconds delayed.
So
Yeah.
by the time we got to extra time, Witty and I had started putting our phones away. My wife was holding the phones, and we realized there's other people in the bar, and they all have their phones.
And you would hear murmurs too. You hear like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, and I was like, wait, did someone find out there was a goal? Because I knew how far behind we were, and there was one person, I believe, at one end of the bar who shouted, "Goal!" And like everyone looked at him like, "Shut the hell up, man!"
Yeah.
Like when I went to the bathroom, I saw this guy get yelled at because he indicated that there was a goal.
So Witty stands up in the middle of the bar on a bar stool and yells with bass in his voice, "Everyone, we're on a 2-minute delay. Put your phones away. No one with phones."
That's bullshit because Witty has said multiple times he likes being the guy that tells people that he's ahead and what's going
When
on.
he's
Has
bragging-
said
So
that.
now
when
he's
bragging
that's in
about his
fact
antenna.
why he has
Well,
an antenna, and now
Yeah.
he doesn't like it when other people are doing it to him.
Well, okay, so the thing is that I could have done it to myself.
Why didn't you take your antenna to the bar?
Honestly, I almost offered that, and of course the Irish pub, the guy's name is Higgins, who runs the bar. Of
course.
Perfect.
Higgy.
That's exactly
Yes.
that's exactly what his name should be. But
Higgins.
I almost went to Higgins. I was like, I will buy you an antenna. Like I will buy you one. I know that this is largely a soccer bar, and not a lot of soccer broadcasts are on broadcast television, but in the event that they are, can I buy you an antenna? Because God, did I need one yesterday in the worst way. But yeah, so it was like so
Witty
I
got
had.
applauded after, by the way, after he yelled at everybody in the bar, and we all of a sudden had a huge stack of phones.
I'm still not buying it.
telling you, it
I'm
was
so
wild.
shocked by it, and I'm talking about the bass in his voice.
Yeah.
Like,
It's crazy. I turned because like we were saying someone should say something, and Witty took it upon himself to stand up. And I wasn't looking at the time. I'm like, who's yelling at everybody? I didn't recognize the voice. It was Chris Wittyngham.
And then he said chaps, and you're like, up, that's my guy.
All right, lads.
There's
All right,
Witty.
lads.
All right, lads.
Turn off your mobile phones.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was. So I was telling the guys I had 3 of the 4 goals in regular time ruined for me because I knew that they were coming. And
What?
yeah, I had
That
3.
sucks.
No, it was awful. So I looked down at one
We were on
point.
such a delay that I didn't know who he was referring to, because there were times that he mentioned under his breath, a goal is coming. I'm like, all right, I guess France are going to score
In
here.
2
he
minutes,
couldn't help
yeah.
himself. See, he couldn't
No,
help himself.
no.
He got the news and he was like, I have to tell you.
I made a face.
He didn't
I
ruin
made
the
a
team
face.
for
No. Chris is right. He
I made a
passed it
face.
along to others who didn't know the news.
I did
And
one of
then the
these.
second Argentinian goal, I'm like, well, surely it's got to be France that scored. But
Right,
we were
I
so
did one of
delayed.
these. Right, like I got it spoiled. I was like, ugh. And then I did that, and then Mike's wife looked at me. What happened? Because she had been yelling at me because I was looking at my phone. So the first goal, I have this app called FOTMob, which gives me notifications for all of the goals. And so the first penalty, so the penalty gets awarded to Argentina, and before they could even place the ball down on the spot, it said 1-0 Argentina, Messi penalty. I was like, damn it! And then
Well, you knew that one was going
Well,
in.
hold on. I have a question about this app. This app just tells you when a goal is scored anywhere in the world in any game.
you could like
Set
you would be
notifications.
stunned.
So it was
You
being
would be
spoiled
stunned.
anyway.
well,
right?
why
I'd be
would you?
stunned.
Why would you want an app that just tells you every time a goal is scored in any
Because
game ever?
There's like Champions League Tuesdays and Wednesdays
Where there's like 8
multiple
games going on at the same time.
If Graceland scores a goal,
Yeah, do you get it?
You get a notification.
Honestly, it's not far away. Like literally, there is a flag
There's
for
like
every.
fourth
So
division.
I just pulled up the leagues here. There are flags for every country.
Dude, you
in the
have too
world,
many
basically.
leagues.
Like I could set
What?
notifications for goals in the Kazakhstan Premier League. Like that. Like not that I
But
would.
why would you?
I know,
Right,
but like
yes.
Gambling again.
But the World Cup,
point.
the World can I have notifications on for the World Cup games? So I had Well, I had to turn them off. So I turned them off after the second one because I had the second goal spoiled for me, which was an unbelievable goal from start to finish. One of the best build-ups to a goal I have ever seen, and I honestly thought
knew it was coming.
and I knew it was coming, and like it was just a pass, and then you see the opening for Di Maria. It's like, oh, he's definitely gonna finish now, and it was still beautiful, but it was so anticlimactic to have known that the goal was going in.
So this was Argentina's second goal.
It was Argentina's
Yeah.
second goal.
I was still super surprised by it because our delay was such that when he made that face, it looked like surely
France had the ball.
This was going to be France's goal. And the buildup was so wonderful that
Yeah.
I didn't expect that kind of goal. So I was
Yeah.
so surprised by it. But we learned, and it got to the point, got bad enough where Witty all of a sudden found a bass in his voice. But yeah,
was awful.
and everyone listened. That's how much bass was in Witty's voice. It didn't get ruined. It didn't get ruined.
Nobody react. And I was being very vigilant as well. Like nobody make a face. Nobody. If anyone cheered before the penalty got taken, I was incredibly vigilant about making sure that no one ruined this
There was
for
a
me.
stable.
Joker origin story right here, by the way. Like the serial killer thing is really.
What is this vigilance of yours? Like you were just looking around, making sure no
I
one.
was peering around.
Yeah.
I heard a sound. I was
We
like,
were sitting-
what was that sound? What was that sound?
We were sitting in front of a table of French supporters, and 3 of them were legitimately French.
Yes.
And-
They sang the lyrics to La Marseillaise before the game kicked off. Which
La
is
Marseillaise,
and
that's
they-
fine.
Marseillaise, excuse me.
And they saw you do that thing,
fine.
and I could see them kind of getting
Yeah.
what was happening, and they were like, shit, I guess we put our phone away. Like they were just like signing. Like they all gave faces like
Yeah.
you had
this
so
ugly
much
American.
anger.
This ugly American is shouting at me. Let me just listen to him.
They just slid collectively. They just all slid their phones on their table and just started pointing to you and whispering to each other in French.
If I was there, I would have been screwing with Witty. I would have been like, oh,
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. I wish I knew. I would have texted him. I mean,
It's a testament to how great that final was and how we all shared in that insanity that we haven't talked about Mac Jones getting trucked by Chandler Jones, and we haven't discussed what was potentially an all-time regular season matchup in the rivalry between the Dolphins and Bills.
And we haven't talked about the Vikings coming back from
The
33-0
biggest
down.
comeback.
it was a great football weekend. It
It
really
really
was.
walk-off
Yeah.
win.
All codes.
Yeah.
Is there a good Aussie rules football game? Because all codes of football had a great weekend.
There's an app for that.
So let's talk a little bit. We didn't do it during the local hour. We should talk about Saturday. And I know that a lot of people, a lot of Dolphin fans that I know, were really pissed off at the officiating.
Right.
I was at a party that day, and everybody was clamoring for 15-yard penalties because of snowballs. I saw the end of that game. It started snowing. Juju Gotti, I think, is a real hero from that game. I laughed out loud when he showed up on the TV. Great image, great outfit. I don't just hard to miss. If you didn't know Juju was at that game, he was instantly recognizable. And the Dolphins seemingly suffered a loss that was a huge blow to their playoff chances. However, the next day happens, and you have the Jets loss followed by a whole new way of losing a game that I've never seen before. in that Raiders-Patriots game.
Amazing.
What was Jakobi Meyers thinking? What was the plan? Did he forget that they had the lead? They called a run play. They were just trying to run it out.
It was nice to see the
was a tie
Patriots. It was nice to see him act and play like the Jets just for a play, for a moment. That was fun.
The Patriots do stupid shit now.
Yeah, but to Mike's point, what did Jakobi Meyers think Mac Jones was going to do once he caught that ball?
Do you think that
honestly,
when Stevenson like pitches him the ball, does something trigger in his mind of like, oh man, are we down?
Shit, we're
Gotta
doing
keep it
this.
going.
Doing this.
Gotta keep it
Almost
going.
like
Yeah.
He forgot the game scenario.
Oh, it's one of those plays. I must have got it wrong. It's one of these plays. That's the only explanation
They
for
called
it.
a run play. They wanted to take it to overtime, but Stevenson gets to the second level, and all of a sudden he's trying to make something happen. But Jakobi Meyers,
Let's chuck it back 30
What's
yards.
the plan there? Mac Jones has 0 blockers in front of him. He can't
Zero
throw it
blockers
forward.
and nobody behind him.
Well,
either.
I think Stevenson's plan is let me get it to Myers and maybe he could just take it up the sideline and go, right?
Yeah, but Myers
But it's hard
totally
to
lost the
communicate
plot.
mid-play to tell Myers, hey, don't throw it back to Mac Jones.
Myers loses a plot, and then when the ball is in the air, we all collectively see it on our TV screens, and we're like, oh God, yes, please let this happen. Chandler Jones skies for it, and you
Imagine
realize
from his perspective. Oh, the play's over there. Whoa, why is the ball coming
ball
at me right
coming
now?
to me. And you can see, like, he scans. He's like, the only thing standing in between me and glory is Mac Jones. And
I'm not going to juke him.
all I want is for him
Why
to go
would
through.
you?
All I wanted in that moment was for Mac Jones to get totally run over. I don't know why I dislike this player so much. I think it was the walk in the draft. I'm not sure.
But also just look at him.
Have you ever
You're still
seen high
holding on to
school
that?
Yeah, dude. It's big like my dad will.
where like the player gets confused in a play like that and they run to the wrong end zone. It happens in like Pop Warner a
Yeah.
lot. I'm surprised that didn't happen to Chandler Jones.
Yeah,
'cause
where he
was
thought, I'm in the scramble too.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't make any sense. Like, just take it to overtime.
Right.
Just go to overtime.
But the only thing in his way was Mac Jones, and he got so run over.
Got to make a
It's
tackle there.
Such a
I'll say it.
funny fashion. Ben Roethlisberger makes that tackle.
You got to trip
He
him. Like,
literally
I don't
has,
know,
yeah.
man.
Ben
That's
does,
true.
yeah. Yeah, he does.
Ben Roethlisberger just turns himself into a traffic cone at that point, and it's just like you are like a speed bump. You are not getting over me.
It's a
like you
forgotten
would just
storyline.
trip him with his back.
The Steelers have a championship because Ben Roethlisberger, in a similar situation, I mean, not fully, there wasn't a Jakobi Meyers passing it back to the quarterback situation, but he
It was
prevented
a goal line fumble, I think.
he
though.
prevented a touchdown from being scored.
The Jerome
against
Bettis
Colts.
fumble.
Against the
The
Colts.
Jerome Bettis
Yeah.
fumble. That's right.
Yeah. And they end up winning the Super Bowl that year, and you could tie everything back to Ben Roethlisberger's ability to make a tackle. It's like the one counter argument I ever have for when Dan yells the quarterback should just run to the sideline after any kind of turnover.
I don't know whose perspective
Well,
is...
Mac Jones wasn't expecting to have to make a tackle.
whose perspective is funnier in that of like, oh, the play, oh, Stevenson broke a tackle. All right, good, heading over to like Chandler and Mac Jones are not involved in that play anymore. And then all of a sudden, the ball just gets like, I just want to like Chandler Jones is like imagine just like real quick thinking of like what's going on in Mac Jones's brain. He's like, oh shit, the ball's okay. Chandler Jones, oh, like it just like it is so funny to think
The
in
thought
slow
process
motion.
of
Why
one
are
of-
we not in overtime right now?
The way that games end in the NFL and that walk-off fashion is Belichick just runs to have a begrudging handshake that you know he hated having with Josh McDaniel.
Yes.
McDaniels, and he can't even discuss. We didn't get a sideline shot of him being super mad or talking to somebody why you can't do that. He just ran into the middle of the field, ran off. Oh, I wish I would have heard what he said. But what can you say?
He was confused,
Don't-
Mike.
I'm surprised he didn't go out and make the tackle. He had to have been livid.
Just go and trip Jakobi
I've
Meyers,
It's
take
so
the 15-yard penalty.
un-Patriots-like.
Always wanted to see that.
We should point out what a big game that was for the Patriots. They go to
Oh my
overtime
God.
and win that game. They're 8-6. I mean,
Huge.
It's
They're
huge
playing
from
for
a
a
Dolphin
playoff
standpoint.
spot. Yeah.
From a Dolphin standpoint, I kind
Yes.
of written that game off.
It was great for the Dolphins.
It was 24-17 with 2.5 minutes to go. I don't think the Raiders had any timeouts. And they go and get that touchdown, which, by the way, I mean, Patriots fans can be a little bit annoyed that Keelan Cole touchdown stood
Yeah.
because it looked like his foot was out of bounds. But either way, you get a tie game. And as a Dolphin, all right, cool, let's go to overtime and see if we can win this in overtime. For the Chargers, for the Jets, Stugotz,
Yeah.
for all these teams that are in the AFC playoff picture, that was a huge result.
Yeah.
And
Massive.
and the Raiders, would that have been their fifth blown double-digit lead
And you
of
know,
the season?
if it goes to overtime, the Patriots are winning that game. That's just not That's just not how that works out.
No.
The Raiders get the short end of the stick. The Patriots win, and the Dolphins and their fans are left sweating through another NFL Sunday. And no harm, no foul. The Bills seem to have the division locked up with that performance. But let's talk a little bit about the Dolphin performance, because I was really impressed with the running game. Tua, I thought, performed quite well considering the circumstances. It was a crazy atmosphere over in Buffalo. They blew an 8-point lead, which in retrospect,
Maybe should have been a 9-point lead.
You're going to want to have that one back, but with the results of the Jets and the Patriots game, you're okay. All you have to do is beat Aaron Rodgers, which now kind of seems like
You got to go
result
2-1.
that everyone's taken.
You got to go 2-1 final 3 to make the playoffs, in my mind.
Yeah, everyone was saying 1-2 on this road trip would be all right. We'd be happy with that. You go for 3.
Yeah, it
and I
hurts.
think there's plenty of concern. And now, if you look at the playoff matchups, I don't want to scare you, but you know who the Dolphins would play in the first round?
Yes, at Kansas City.
Yeah.
Or no, at Buffalo, right? Or whichever one of those, the second seed, essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
they're
Kansas City
right now
now.
they'd be at Kansas City
Texans
right now.
almost beat them. So
Yeah.
But honestly,
Transit
Good
property.
point, Billy. Yeah.
but
What a weird day.
I honestly see that. I mean, the Bills have a kind of easy. They play the Bengals still. I think the Chiefs end up at that 1 seed because the Chiefs' schedule of the final 3 is not that hard.
They're home with Seattle, home with Denver, and away at the Raiders.
I don't want to be the guy, and I kind of am going to be that guy. That's just kind of like keeping a positive attitude about this. But there's a moral victory to be taken from that Dolphins game. You were curious, can this team go play in the cold? I've been saying it, and I'm just like, I feel now more confident about that.
We'll
And I
say-
feel like that has to be something.
And can the coach make adjustments? And he did with the running game and some,
running game
some
looked
stuff
great.
with Tua as well.
Mostert looked great, but I will say, I would caution you, while it was cold, it wasn't snowing.
Right.
And
Well,
then
it was kind of
game-
towards the end.
That game went sideways once the snow started coming down, and that atmosphere got somehow crazier. And
because they realize that it's their advantage.
Yeah.
For as much shit as I took for saying that there should be a dome
That's
over
so
the
much
stadium,
shit.
they lean. Yes, so much shit.
Good on you on that, by the way.
that was terrible.
That was
a horrible
great.
take.
No, but it was a great take because of the reaction
The
it got. It was
reaction
just-
made me want to agree with Witty, which
No.
is a testament to how ridiculous the reaction was. They were talking about him on local radio.
guys,
the
Buffalo-
Bills were subtweeting him.
You should have
Buffalo-
done Buffalo hits.
Buffalo Bills fans themselves were arguing we're going to take $950 million in state money and not put a dome over this place. What are we doing? The fans themselves had a conversation about putting a dome over the stadium. And just because an outsider said it, all of a sudden it's
No.
get him.
No, you know what I've realized
It's
this
still
year?
a bad idea.
can't say
Josh
it. They
Allen
can
had
say
4
it.
touchdowns.
I want to hear Billy weigh in on this because he's taking exception to your ridiculous take, which I really.
You know what I've learned this season? Football's just not for you, which is fine. Like, football's not your thing.
American football.
In the beginning of the season, it was too hot to play football. Now it's too cold to play football.
Make up your
Then we should
minds,
play
yeah.
football indoors, but we can't play football indoors because the turf is more dangerous than real grass. So we all have to have stadiums where you have the grass go outside and then come inside, but we can't do that because then it's too hot and then we're using water and there's a drought. Football's just not for you, okay?
It was too hot, and also
Let's just move on.
Too hot.
Just football's not for you.
No,
What
That's fine.
exactly do you want, Whittingham? I mean,
no, you know what? I do enjoy how the Dolphins cook their opponents, I must say. And so, by that token, I kind of have to allow the Bill fans to enjoy the
To
Dolphins.
freeze their opponents?
That was assault.
The Dolphins completely falling apart once the snow started coming onto the field. Like they had to. Like that's why they started cheering. They knew that was their advantage in the game, and the advantage told. And for as much as I was saying that Josh Allen could have been slowed down by the conditions, they also played in that condition and engineered like an 85-yard drive without any problem. Josh Allen's size as a runner allows him to be a threat regardless of the conditions.
You know what I couldn't believe? And the game ultimately did come down to that. That play that Josh Allen made at the end of the first half, where he milks all the clock
Which
off
is
and makes
stupid.
it was totally stupid, but he had the talent to make it happen. There's something kind of going on with the Bills that I think that their best football has kind of been behind them. Maybe they'll start ramping back up and getting better. But they haven't been that impressive. They've been winning
Thank
some of
you.
these games by the skin of their teeth. They don't look like the same team.
I heard Orlovsky say that it's kind of similar to the McDaniel thing where the Ken Dorsey, the scouting reports out there on what the Bills are going to do to beat you, and teams have kind of been like, all right, we're going to stop that, so you got to adjust. So, and that's what they're going through
They
right
don't.
now.
They don't run very well.
they're 11-3, guys.
The
I mean,
best running weapon is
they're gonna
him in the
choke.
short passing game. I
They're gonna choke.
Billy,
I can't wait for it to happen because I got so much crap over this. But like, they're gonna choke. It wasn't a super impressive win, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't be happy that they won and they shouldn't be bragging about it. But like, Dolphins had back-to-back plays that should have been touchdowns that they just dropped the ball.
No doubt.
You had the Josh Allen
Yep.
play where, like, if that ball's not caught, you go in with 0 points there at the end of that drive, headed into the half.
But Billy, I'm not certain it's choking if they lose to Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow. They might lose. You think it's choking?
They're really good.
What if it's the first round when the Dolphins come to town?
That's choking.
Well, they'll probably have a bye the first round.
I mean, it's only one team that gets a bye.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Chiefs' schedule is pretty easy the final three. If the Bills lose to the Bengals, I think the Chiefs flip-flop them.
Before
Yeah, it's gonna
before
be a
the
big Monday
season,
nighter.
they were talked up as like this unstoppable force that they were
And they
just
did-
going to
and they
run
did
through to
look-
the Super Bowl, and they're
They did
not
look
that.
unstoppable. They did look unstoppable, and I do think maybe I'm kind of overreacting by the skin of the teeth because I think ultimately, in retrospect, the performance where they came alive and beat beat Detroit on Thanksgiving, that now appears to be a good win because the Lions are the hottest team in the league, but they're not playing people off of the field. They had that embarrassing loss at home where they invented a way to lose to Minnesota. Granted, Minnesota is a good team, but it's not the team that thoroughly outplayed Kansas City and came back and won that game. It's not the team that they were the first month. They're going to have to – I think they'll be better for it ultimately, but I was kind of with Billy that how are we really going to make the Buffalo Bills this strong a favorite to win the AFC?
They're a good team. They're just not unbeatable.
They're beatable.
People were crowning them after a month, and look,
I couldn't believe those prices.
Preseason, they were crowned.
Right.
It's just they have to play in the same conference playoffs as Patrick Mahomes. How do you make them that big of a favorite?
Right.
If you look at any of the team rating metrics, they weren't just the best team in the league; they were the best team in the league by an order of magnitude over everybody else.
Metrics.
And they've come back to the pack.
Boy.
They've come back to the pack, and they are a great team.
Are they the favorites right now?
Yeah,
I'll check it right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, but
they're the favorites in the AFC.
But
Okay.
like, you can pick stats and metrics to say anything that you want. Like,
No, but
CBS
it was-
every
no,
week
it
puts
was-
out that Tua's number one. They did it just this week.
Yeah.
He leads the league in like 7 different categories in the NFL. So like, you would say, wow, this guy leads in all these categories, and they're what, 8-6 now? The team must be letting Tua down.
Yeah. I
Right.
do think
Is that what's happening?
I think that the troubles, if we can call it that, because they're still finding ways to win this. If they can figure it out, they'll be better for it. If you're a Bills fan, you're glad that they're going through this perceived rough patch. They're the first seed right now in the AFC. They're just not playing the way that we're used to seeing them play. They can turn it around. They'll have a week off. If they have.
They've won
win
5
home field.
straight. I mean,
Right.
I understand it's not
The
dominating
performances-
football, but,
yeah, they're
Right.
4 of them are 1-score wins, and they're against the Browns.
every game
the
is a
Lions,
1-score win. Every
Jets.
game in the NFL comes down to
But
a
see,
score.
I was
Woody?
told that the Bills were that much more
Right.
dominant than everybody
Fair.
else. That
Yes.
they would beat the Browns by multiple scores.
They also, until recently, weren't winning 1-score games. Like, they were losing all their 1-score games.
Fair.
Yeah, I would say that while we're in it, those performances don't look that impressive. But you look back on it, the Browns played pretty well considering the circumstances. That game was at a neutral field. That week in preparation was a bit wonky.
Lions win looks better now.
Is better. The Dolphins.
That game was at Detroit, by the way.
They lost to the Dolphins earlier this season when they were playing better football. So I'm not going to freak out about it. I think the Bills are still well positioned. I am with Billy, though, in that I just don't understand how you're going to make the Buffalo Bills an overwhelming favorite in a conference with Patrick Mahomes.
Right now, they are the favorite at +150. The Chiefs are +260. I imagine that would flip if the Chiefs became the 1 seed. I think that is right now the current state of play where the Bills would have a bye and play the AFC Championship at home. The Bengals are 5-1. The Chargers are actually 4th favorites at 11-1 after their win yesterday.
Dangerous team.
Still a lot of respect for the Chargers, but I do kind of like, as we've talked about the Buffaloes sort of in this the Bills in sort of this sort of dispassionate way. I do want to kind of tip my cap to them. Like, they were amazing on Saturday night. Like they came out of halftime. They didn't score on any of their first 5 possessions in the second half. The Dolphins adjusted well defensively after a pretty dreadful first half, and the Bills were great. coming back, like you had that sort of sinking feeling. Yeah, the Dolphins are up 29-21 right now, but this can go away very quickly. And I have an enormous amount of respect. It's just that relative to the way that they're talked about sometimes, I don't think that they're that good, but they're still amazing. And the performance they put in was amazing.
I was talking out of both sides of my mouth this weekend because after the Dolphins game, I'm like, you got to swallow your whistle in that spot, ref. You call a penalty. It's okay.
It was a light one. It was a light one.
It's a light one, and then the next night, the Giants Commanders game ends with a call that should have been made late, where I'm like, you got to call it there. So I'm like, it's just like it's tough in that spot. It's like, what is the right? Like, do you just call it the way you call it?
I'm just learning this about the Commanders Giants game because I was knocked out before that game started.
The Commanders
You had enough.
The Commanders, I believe, were down what, 5?
I left it out on the field.
They're down 5 in goal to go, and it's just he throws it up, and the Giants DB is all over the Commanders.
I've got a bone to pick with the Jets punt coverage because they have cost me big money in my pick'em league because they can't stop an opposing team from returning a punt.
They've cost me a playoff spot, Mike.
That Lions-Jets game was huge for the field in our pool.
Oh
just
my
to make it about
God.
us.
I am biffing it right now. I'm sitting at an 0-4 and I need Baker Mayfield to outplay Aaron Rodgers right now.
Oh, God. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but your Jets are a weird-ass team. Why did Zach Wilson start that game? I know that Mike White is hurt.
Mike White, they could not find a doctor to clear Mike White because he had a rib injury.
Lord knows that he searched for one.
Which is he searched everywhere.
He was looking for the one dentist.
It makes
disagreed.
it makes it seem right, Dr. McGillicuddy, just anybody, Greg's doctor.
But why not Flacco?
Well, I think you have to. First off, Flacco had a chance the week before, and he acted like he didn't want to go in the game.
But Zach Wilson hadn't even been dressing for these games.
I know.
I don't think I have to look at it. Keep in mind, I did not watch anything outside
Mike,
of a
he
replay
played well.
of this.
This was not on Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson did enough for the Jets to win that game.
Stu, come on. What are we doing here, Stu? There was a couple.
Tony, he
threw
did
up
enough.
what we
They
call
had
in
a
Spanish
lead.
uno globito, which means a couple balloons that were just floating in the air. Michael Carter bailed him out on one of them, and another one was a pick.
I'm not saying he was great. I'm saying he was good enough to win that football game. That's all. I still have no idea if I have a quarterback, but he was good
His name
enough.
was Mike White.
He was good enough for them to win that game yesterday, so much so that they had the ball. They had a lead in the fourth quarter. Now, I will tell you, the coaching staff failed them. They had timeouts that final drive and did not use that.
Crazy.
What
That
was
was
going
terrible.
on there?
Yeah.
Terrible. Like
Burned
Roberts.
20 seconds with 3 timeouts.
Not
It
like
was terrible.
They were
Yeah.
acting like they were at the 10.
Yes.
At the 45-yard line. Like,
know.
dude,
It was like a minute and
speed it up.
change.
I
There was
know.
a minute and change. They just wasted away with 3 timeouts.
So they were left with a long field goal to try to tie it up. One of the best kickers in the league, and they missed it. But like Zach Wilson was fine. Like it's not. To me, that was improvement. To me, I was encouraged by what I saw out
They
of Zach
basically
Wilson.
went 2 full quarters without scoring, though.
I know.
Against the Lions defense.
I know. Listen, the Lions are good.
Not their defense.
Yeah, their offense.
Their defense
great.
is getting better.
It has been better the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And the Jets also lost Quinnen Williams in that game, which is a big deal for them as well. But it's hard to say like they definitively would have won with Mike White because we don't have a consistent pattern of performance with him. He's had some really good games. He's had some decent games, but like you just sort of assume that not only do his teammates like playing with him better, but he raises just sort of the median level of performance from Jets quarterback play that, yeah, they probably would have won that game yesterday if White were healthy.
Scott, so your Jets have a tough schedule to close
know.
this season. You have
Thanks.
a primetime game on Thursday with the Jags that all of a sudden look like a different team. Who would have thought? When that Amazon Prime Thursday night schedule came out, I'm like, oh, what a dog shit game Jags-Jets is going to be late in the season. And now it's actually like one of the better ones that we've seen on Thursday.
Tony, this is all I'm saying is the Jets had a 7 with that defense at home, 17-13 lead late in the fourth quarter.
You blew it. You might have blown your season with that performance. With another goddamn punt return. What are you guys doing on special teams?
We're awful.
You got the Jags, then you travel to the Seahawks, and you close the season.
They get the Jags at a short week at home, right? I believe that's Thursday night.
Yeah,
so.
you need to win that game for your final regular season matchup at the Dolphins to matter.
Yeah.
And that game might get flexed depending on the
That could
playoff
be a
probabilities.
doozy.
Yeah, you're not, and you're probably not getting Mike White back.
Jets, honestly, if you look at
I don't want him back.
Jets Seahawks.
You don't want Mike White back?
What?
No, Listen, you have to spend the rest of this season figuring out if Zach
Whoa.
Wilson's any good.
No, you
You
don't.
do.
No, you
Punted on
don't.
the playoffs?
No, you
He's not
don't.
good, dude.
You punted on the playoffs?
Things have changed. Yeah.
No, man.
I mean,
No.
it's changed, Mike.
How about you spend the rest of the season trying to figure out if Mike White is that dude?
Listen, I would rather figure out if Zach Wilson, the number 2 pick of the draft, is going to be that dude.
The only one of those two that have shown you anything is Mike White.
Zach Wilson showed me something yesterday. That's what I'm trying to tell
What
you.
did he show you? That he can lose at home to the Lions? What are we doing?
He had a fourth quarter lead. He played well. Mike, look at his numbers. They're not for Zach Wilson. Now he has set the bar very low for himself.
That cannot, like, the bar at this point is good quarterback play because Mike White gave you that.
I have a question.
With that defense, usually good quarterback play is decent quarterback play.
Mike White
is enough.
But Mike White has shown you above decent Mike White has shown you something.
I know.
Why wouldn't you want to take the rest of the season and find out if Mike White is the quarterback? I'm with you that this season may be more about quarterback evaluation, but you're evaluating the wrong quarterback.
I have a question for you, Stugotz.
Yeah.
As a Jets fan.
Mm-hmm.
So you now have Zach Wilson, who you don't know if you want or not, but may run out of town.
Yep.
You have Mike White, who you may or may not want. You may run out of town.
It's a bad situation.
Well, no, hold on.
Okay.
At this point,
Make it better.
would you, Stugotz, and the Jet fan base take back Geno Smith, who you once ran out of town?
Of course.
100%. Yes.
I
take Tom Brady.
I think that game gets flexed, by the way, your game at the Seahawks.
Really?
Yeah, if you look at the primetime slate, I think it's like
Brady's
Rams.
not an option.
He might be. I mean, he's a free agent after this season.
He's
The
not
Jets,
going to the Jets.
That'd be great.
He's
It'd be great.
Doesn't he have a child named Jet? I think like the
like Chipper Jones with Shea because he destroys the Mets.
No, I think I just made him John Travolta. I'm sorry. Rest in peace, by the way.
Right now, the Sunday night game on New Year's Day is Rams at Chargers, the LA Derby. So I imagine that game will probably be flexed out at
You
this
did not
point.
just call it the LA Derby.
Yeah, it's the LA
You
Derby.
did.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a little rivalry match. But yeah, I mean, Dolphins at Patriots could be up there as well to get flexed, but there aren't that many other obvious choices. Minnesota at Green Bay is the 4:25 Fox game that everyone wants us to watch.
Tom Brady does have a son that's kind of named Jet, John Edward Thomas,
Oh.
Jet for short.
I mean, I take him right now. Team's good enough. Good enough defense. Good enough wide receivers.
You guys, you're talking about your defense, but you gave up a 51-yard touchdown to the Lions' backup tight end in a pivotal moment in the game yesterday.
I
With
know.
a minute 49 left to play.
And you guys are sitting here blaming Zach Wilson. That's my point. Like, the defense failed him. Yeah, he got them a lead, 17-13, late in that game, and the defense didn't show up in the fourth
Your
quarter.
special teams have been letting you down. You've lost 2 games because of special teams, and the fact that you made this quarterback move a little too late in the season. But I don't understand
Maybe.
the logic, and I got to figure out what I have in Zach Wilson. Why not apply that same logic to Mike White?
It was weird seeing that game, and every time that the Jets did something good, they would cut to Tony on the sideline.
He looks so much like you.
Nothing like Tony.
What?
He does not
Oh,
look
no,
like
He
Tony.
does, dude. He does.
I love that even like Mike White has earned the status of sideline cutaway. I know. That like we got there he is waiting in the wings. That's the standard that Zach Wilson's got to live up to.
He's going to be waiting a lot longer. He ain't coming back. First off, he's not going to get clear for a Thursday night game.
I think the second he's healthy, he starts again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
See how much his teammates love him.
Yeah, his teammates
The whole
love him.
team's
I love him too.
Wilson.
They made a big show. I mean, they had Zach Wilson as quarterback number 3 last weekend.
That was last week. Moved him up to number 2.
I know, but I just think that right now, if
And
you
it
say,
seems like the Jets played a part in not letting Mike White find a doctor to clear him of his ribs.
I mean, it was a significant rib injury.
I know.
So I would be
He's got
surprised.
multiple fractures in his ribs.
I would be surprised if he's available for Thursday night. So I think Zach Wilson will start again on Thursday night in their giant game against the Jags. But I think if indeed
It's so weird to hear.
It's so
Right.
weird.
It's Jags.
Jags.
right, it's one of those where
Massive
like
game.
Michaels gets the schedule before the start of the season, like Jets Jags.
God damn.
Like week 16 of the year, I'm doing Jets Jags. I used to do the biggest game of the week. I'm doing Jets Jags, and I think the last Thursday night of the season is pretty good too. They close with a decent run of games because
Yeah, Cowboys Titans.
yeah, Cowboys Titans is a good one as well. But yeah, I think that's Mike White's team now. I would be surprised if going into next
Not so
season,
certain, Witty.
Mike White is not their starter. I would be surprised if Mike White is not their starter.
I'll ask you this: is Tyler Conklin wearing Zach Wilson shirts, or is he wearing Mike White shirts?
Mike White shirts.
Okay, just
I
making
understand
sure.
your point,
That's his
Tony.
team.
Just making sure.
But let me ask you this, Tony. If
Weird
you're the
debate
owner of the
point.
Jets, would you rather know if you have something in Zach Wilson or Mike White?
I think there's. I
you
think there's
invested
an old,
$25 million
Of course.
into Zach Wilson.
I think we all know what's most important is the type of laundry Tyler Conklin has.
Of course, but
When
That's a great
evaluating
question. No,
quarterbacks.
it is.
it shows you the thought process of the team. Nobody's making a Zach Wilson shirt. More importantly, we saw the Washington.
Are you
football
saying no
team.
one's wearing a Zach Wilson T-shirt
No,
on the
on
Jets?
that
Not a
team?
single
Hell no.
person.
No, but
You
Absolutely
can tell.
not. They don't like
You
him.
can tell when Mike White came in and delivered that first performance.
Yeah.
That they
We're dying.
hate.
They were
Yeah,
waiting
dying
for
for
that.
that.
They were
They
waiting
were
for anybody to do
dying
it.
for
You're
somebody
coming
else to
off a
play.
press conference where he takes no accountability and he actually cost them the game.
But you don't
I
think
mean,
that's emblematic of something bigger? Like that's not one press
It
conference
is.
and one performance.
We all watched draft day.
I think he wins that game yesterday, and the defense shows up and he wins them back. That's what I think. They didn't win the game. I mean,
They're all trying to find Dr. McGillicuddy.
He took 2 dreadful sacks on that last
He's not a
drive
good
too.
player.
And he had a ton of bad throws too.
No, he's not a good
ton
player.
of bad
18 of
throws.
35.
I don't know
like,
why. Like
He
we
had
do
all
this
this chunk
every
yards in
week.
2 plays.
We do this every week with Zach Wilson, where it's very clear he's not the guy, and Stugotz is like, I don't know.
well, we haven't done it in a few weeks because he hasn't played.
No,
I mean,
I'm saying- I said every
Mike,
week after
I mean,
he's
to
played.
be fair, I mean, I thought Tua was bad for 2 years.
No,
and like
Tua, man.
I can
I
understand.
thought Geno Smith was bad for a decade. I mean,